Welcome back, everyone, for the final time. We've seen all the other drafts and all the other matches. There is just one thing left to do. It is to crown a champion in the first, probably only, but who knows, CALLOUS Draft Duel Tournament. You guys, if you've been following along, none of this should be new to you. You know how the format works. You know that there's a link to the draft, how we got here, in the description, and you should know the players. But real quick, and then we're just going to get straight into it. We have Zokuru and AustrianGeorge playing on the alties used throughout the entire tournament. Alcohooligans on the top. No matter what, these are going to be our first and second place finishers. Both going to walk away with a three-figure payout one way or another. But there's only one champion with a much bigger slice, 50% of the overall prize pool of the pie. Who will it be? Let's find out together, guys. Here is game one. Zokuru on the bottom and George Alcohooligans on the top. Slow is too slow. We're going to move it to normal. Blaziken is going to scare off Ursaring, and in comes an immediate nuke on Overheat, resisted by Slowbro coming in. Lax and Ice Beam, respectively. That may just be blind fishing, hoping that Zapdos or Flygon or what have you comes in, but that is not the result that we got. And a surprise Toxic from Lax, maybe to hit something like an Armaldo that traditionally counters it, so getting a little bit techie right out the gate. George comes prepared in case Zoc does bring a counter. And that's going to be another victim of a surprise Toxic. Both Slowbro and Armaldo have been hit with that by things that don't usually carry it, Machamp and Snorlax, respectively. Lantern comes in, hoping to come into a Thunderbolt. Instead, it's just a Wish, and boy, is that an unremarkable Surf. Jolteon going to go back up to damn near full health after reading the Wish. Lax comes down, as does Lantern. Advantage Lax. 15% in a Sandless game is not going to get this done. Compare that to 49% coming back the other way. And we end up with Champ on Maldo, keeping in mind that it is, of course, still poison from before, and Zoc has not shown any Heal Bell user or way other than just resting to remove that. Low Kick there, unremarkable. Hidden Power, better than Low Kick, but not great at 25%. And Slowbro does have Rest to remove his Toxic at least, but it's going to let in the Lax, and it's not clear if Armaldo has the ability to get rid of its Toxic. And despite being a Toxic Lax, it is also apparently a Curse Lax we've seen return as well. And there you go. Full move set revealed. We also have Knockoff. So Toxic Protect makes sense as a combo. And going to go to Machamp to not have the Lax lose his item. Machamp, of course, was already knocked off earlier, so no harm, no foul when that happens. And the full set of Champ is now revealed. Toxic, Low Kick, Hidden Power, and Rock Slide, respectively. Jolteon gets in on Slowbro, which does manage to kill a Sleep Turn. And there is another Toxic victim in the Lantern, though I suspect that that also may have Rest. And there you go. That one's not as surprising. It often carries Rest. But whether Armaldo is going to have it, or, I mean, Slowbro doesn't always have it either, but in this case it does. Does Armaldo have Rest? There you go. So, as good as I think the tech is for George, as much as I like all the surprise Toxics, as much as I like the approach, I think that Zoc seemingly has the right sets into the right strategy. I think that Zoc has the right stuff to counter what George is trying to do, and this would work the vast majority of the time, I think, for George, but as it has turned out, he's got a bunch of spots dedicated to Toxic against an opponent who's apparently spamming Rest, so this might just be a bad matchup for George. I mean, that being said, anybody's game, 6-6 here with unreveals on both sides, but now that I've seen all the Toxic spam and now that I've seen all the Rest for Zokuru, it's hard to not think that the matchup lines up in such a way where obviously the Rest player, rather than the Toxic spammer, has the advantage. Body Slam there, 42% negated, and then some by the Wish. Didn't find the power or, of course, the crit that he would have been looking for. Jolteon again comes into Slowbro, and he's going to have to be punished this time since it actually wakes up. It's only a 32% Psychic, though. World didn't end. Wish and Machamp, respectively. Body Slam coming down. Again, fishing for a para or crit, neither of which come. And back to Slowbro now. George predicts that and is rewarded with his good prediction with a critical hit. Arcanine comes in for the first time for Zokuru. Intimidate there is going to make it so the Hidden Power doesn't even negate lefties. Guess we're looking at HP Bug. And Blastoise briefly appears, but has no business in staying in, staring down Lantern. Over prediction for George with Thunderbolt, maybe thinking Lantern would switch because of a Wish, but that's not the way it went down. Wish does happen now. Jolteon, of course, has not shown its item. It hasn't been knocked off, he just hasn't shown it. And Blastoise coming in. There is Body Slam again. Zokuru is not finding the paras that he's several times been fishing for. And Surf and Slam comes down now, and even though Surf does get a critical hit, Body Slam finally kills Blastoise there. And there's some revenge. So finally some dominoes start to fall. We've got ourselves a 5-5. Still an unrevealed in the back for Zoc. Intimidate comes down on Mence in case it is a physical step, but it doesn't seem to be with Wish. And Toxic there is going to blank on an already paralyzed Pokemon, and who knows, it might have immunity anyway, but regardless, can't poison something that is paralyzed. So, Arcanine comes in, great counter to Blaziken. Intimidate makes the fighting moves do less, and obviously it resists fire, overheat there 29%, still a decent chunk because it has such high base power, but Arcanine will be okay. Back to Lantern, Rock Slide 27%. One of the flaws of this Machamp set without Cross Chop or Bulk Up for George is that it's walled by Lantern of all things. Not exactly the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of Machamp counters, but in this case it's going to suffice. In this case, Lantern is pretty much going to be able to wall Machamp all day, which is weird. Lax comes in now, and we already know that just like the Lantern walls the Machamp all day, the Lax is going to wall Lantern all day. So it's one of those matchups where they have pretty full stop, you can't do a damn thing kind of counters for each other's Mons in many cases, and we just wait in what is already a bit of a longer game, but going to be an even longer game to see what exactly breaks the stalemate here. We still don't know the last poke for Zoc, and obviously that could potentially be very important. Lantern kills a sleep turn. Slowbro comes into a return, hangs on barely, but can get a rest off now. And George, of course, knowing that rest is coming, is going to switch Jolteon into Slowbro. That's going to give him a free Wish or an attack, and he decides he wants Wish. Stays in and takes it for himself. Thunderbolt, 31% against Armaldo. And going to do it again, 30% this time. Wakey, wakey, Rock Blast, swing and a miss. And now Armaldo in a little bit of trouble, but Machamp switches in, as does Lantern, which we've already established walls it, but Lax is going to wall Lantern, so back and forth in this loop. And Armaldo comes back. Full power for Lax at a bad time. Might give Zokuru the opportunity to rest if that's what he wants to do here. He's going to go on the offensive with Rock Blast, but it's going to do an unremarkable 5% at a time to Machamp, and he gets the minimum amount of hits, which is 2, for a pretty unexciting 10% damage there, minus more than half of it when Lefties kicks in. Jolteon on Lantern, Wish floating, Surf there, wouldn't even kill with a crit. This one would, though, if he goes for it again. Toxic, Surf, there you go, on cue. Finds the crit on command, and down goes Jolteon. And that does not cut off George from the ability to pass Wish, because we know that Mence has it as well, but the Jolteon is a big loss for him, and Zokuru, I would say, is objectively ahead at this point. The bigger issue that I'm having, regardless of Zokuru's last Pokemon, and that obviously is massive luck too, that might just prompt a concession. That was a 5-hitter Rock Blast, including a critical hit, to kill the Blaziken that would survive that the overwhelming majority of the time. And he said that he was the reversal set too, so normally those 5 hits, no problem, as long as he doesn't get crit there, but that was pretty unlucky. But yeah, what I was about to say, and now even more so with the Blaziken down, the issue that I see, regardless of the last poke for Zoc, is how does George win from here? The Machamp's not a win condition, it just gets walled by the Lantern, maybe other things as well, but certainly at least the Lantern. It just doesn't have bulk up or any kind of set. Yeah, there's the concession there. I don't even think that's premature. I mean, Lantern can't win, it's just walled by, or sorry, Machamp can't win, it's just walled by Lantern. The Salamence never really showed a lot. It could be like 3 special attacks Wish. A lot of the time Wish sets are like Wish, Protect, Toxic, and only 1 attack, which we can actually check because they showed team, but if that is the case, and I'll just check real quick right now, for George. Let's see here. Yeah, so he was being totally honest. It was Endure Reversal, as he commented in the battle chat. So the Rock Blast sequence there was really unlucky because the Blaziken would have been really low and would have been high-powered reversal and maybe could have done some damage, but didn't play out that way. And then, yeah, the Salamence is Hidden Power Flying, Wish Protect Toxic, so that obviously wasn't going to do too much killing either in this particular game. It only had one attack, no way to boost itself, not a real win condition here. So I don't know if you want to call it matchup variance or if you want to call it Zok out-prepping George here, but George really walked into seemingly a pretty brutal matchup. George went with a very defensive, stally, toxic spam into a guy who also went sturdy, defensive, rest spam, and that's obviously a recipe for disaster. In hindsight, just looking at the matchup, from the very get-go, just seeing these teams fully healthy and turn one ready to go with full transparency on paper, it looks like George just did not have a lot of ways to ever actually win. He has a Curse Lax, but that's not really ever breaking through here. Machamp isn't going to win with this set. Jolteon doesn't have any like BP sub shenanigans or whatever. It's just a mono attacker. The Lax we already talked, the Mence we already talked about, just has one attack. Blastoise, regardless of the set, is never going to be a win condition. So it was like kind of sort of the Blaziken and like more than zero the Lax only, but it just, I mean, the Blaziken also happens to be against the Slowbro, which counters the crap out of it since it resists both sides of Blaziken's typing, and then the Arcanine is there as well for the Intimidate and the Fire Resist, so the Blaziken is, just by variance, just by the way it worked out, walking into a pretty bad Blaziken matchup too. It just felt like this matchup was a disaster. Like I said, whether you want to chalk that up to superior prep or variance or a little bit of both, it really feels like if you played these exact teams, this exact game one, 50 times or whatever, like Zok would win 40 of them, 40 plus of them, the vast majority of them. This felt like a nightmare matchup that Zok was very, very favored to win with the way that the teams were laid out. But let's not get too stuck on game one. You guys know it's a best of three. I just wanted to take my time, since it is the finals and all, and really share my thoughts. But another game, possibly multiple games, to be played. Let's just move to game two here. Zokuru, obviously, if he wins, is our champion, whereas AustrianGeorge, with a win, forces game three, and himself becomes one win away from being our champion. So here's game two. So Zok is on the bottom again. He's got a Glalie lead, which is probably not thrilled to see Hera on the other side. And he's going to immediately boom into it. And he's going to boom into a sub, which I guess other than like a Protector, a Ghost switch in, is pretty close to worst case scenario. And then Moltres is going to Flamethrower into a Thick Fat Mon, which is going to take very little, just 17%. Toxic on Yama might not be the worst thing ever. Okay, it might be, because I think it's Thick Fat. That did not seem to activate Guts. That Brick Break clearly would have done more if he had Guts rather than Thick Fat. So this is a pretty different story so far. First game was slow and felt pretty stacked for Zok. This game is moving at a much faster pace. There's another victim of Toxic, and George is just, from the very early going, and there's a miss too, insult to injury, but George has just been ahead all game and is not letting his foot off the gas here. George certainly already looking like he wants to push us to a game three. It isn't over, but man, George is so far ahead already. Glalie down, no spikes established. Both Hariyama and Moltres have been hit with Toxic. And Zokuru has very little to show for it. And now it gets even worse as Dugtrio flat out switches into Raikou. Protect is whatever, it'll stall 2 PP with pressure on the Earthquake. Doesn't really change anything. Raikou's super dead. Now, to be fair, you get the P2 revenge kill, but like, who cares? If you're running Dugtrio, you obviously want to snipe out Raikou, and you're super happy with that trade, almost regardless of what happens after. So, pending something like a crit right there, that could have happened. Maybe a crit here would work as well. It would have, but it doesn't come. But yeah, now that Zokuru is out of critical hit disaster territory, he can sit here and stall out the Dugtrio, which is not the most riveting viewing experience, but bear with me. It will eventually, if it is choice band locked, which we know that it is because of the damage, it will eventually run out of Earthquake PP, it will eventually start struggling, and it will eventually recoil itself to death, and then we will get back to business as usual. And eventually, in this case, is not an eternity. There's only 16 Earthquakes to begin with. He flung 2 of them at Raikou, so that cost him 4 PP, meaning he's only got 12 left, and haven't kept track of the turns, but we've got to be nearing the end of the Earthquake PP at any moment. But that is still going to leave us, and there is the struggle in a game state where, in my mind, George is pretty damn clearly ahead. He's up 5-4. He's got the spikes advantage. Zok cannot spike on his own, nor can he spin, and 2 of his Pokemon are Toxic Afflicted. He is desperate. He's going to Thunderbolt there and hope for a Para, which is only 10%. And there's Brick Break. I mean, this looks... Zok is already saying GG. He's not conceding, but this looks pretty over to me. So pretty much a reverse of the first game. I don't know that this was like stacked, unwinnable matchup the way that game 1 felt, but yeah, the way that this played out, George was just the whole way across. It never felt like George was even a single step behind. It felt like wire to wire from the very first turn or two, like George was ahead the whole entire time and never really let his foot off the gas. And yeah, Zokuru never really gained any momentum or caught up in any meaningful way in this game. He was just losing the whole damn time until he forfeited, which I really don't even think was premature. I really don't think Zok could have won. So, game 1 was fun and was, like, cool to narrate. This one wasn't, like, the worst game ever, but, like, not a lot of suspense. Kind of 2 stomps in different ways. I mean, this one was a bit of a faster stomp. Game 1 was like you lost the second we loaded because of the matchup kind of stomp, even though it took a while. But neither of these games have been close, and it's going to force us to a Game 3, so 1 game to determine our champion, and they both should have, even though they don't have an exact idea. That's why we're drafting 21 total Pokemon when you only need 18, rather than 18, because I think it would be lame if they knew exactly all 6 exact pokes that were coming in Game 3. I think that's kind of lame. So the fact that there are 3 extras floating in there, that there's not a pool of 9 Pokemon available, and they're going to use 6 of them, I think at least makes it a little bit less predictable. But like some things are obvious that are coming. You're obviously going to never not bring certain things, but at least it's not like down to the letter predictable. But yeah, Zok hasn't used his T-Tar yet, for example, though I think it's going to be met with like Flygon and Registeel on the other side. They both kept some of their big guns for Game 3, and why not? That's the championship game, so with a lot of the best pokes, with the T-Tar, with the Zapdos, with the Registeel, with a lot of the best stuff, the round 1 stuff still floating, we are going to a Game 3, bringing out the big guns, 1 game only to determine our champion in the first and possibly only CALLOUS Draft Duel. Please like and subscribe. Here's Game 3, baby. Zok on the bottom 1 last time, and AustrianGeorge on the top. He's got 2 different Reggies, and Starmie for Zok apparently has Substitute, which is unusual. But sure, Surf for 28%, Seismic Toss gonna pop it, gonna Surf again because why not, gonna S-Toss again because why not. So far, everything pretty standard. Neither of these guys really in any danger, and certainly with Recover, he's really truly not in any danger of ever dying to Seismic Toss. But there is Toxic to put something of a clock on him, though he can obviously Natural Cure that away. Good prediction for George to Toxic a second time in a row. Hits Claydol, not rewarded. Insta-refresh. Zapdos comes in and immediately goes out. And we do find, obviously, the T-Tar was never going to bring that, never going to not bring that. But it's going to be met with Swampert, and I think Flygon's going to be there too. So T-Tar may have a hard time, and we might be looking at 2 pretty stally teams. If it's Flygon in the back for George, and I mean, double spinner Milotic here. Looks pretty stally for Zok as well. We might be in for a longer championship game here, a longer game 3. Swampert, I think, is going to be very largely neutralized by Milotic here. I don't know what would happen to change that. If spikes came down, maybe, though there's 2 spinners. Maybe they both don't actually have a spin. For Zokuru, yeah, Subsurf recover. It could be last move spin, but it could also just be T-Wave or any coverage move. But certainly at least the Claydol is going to have spin. And here comes Sableye, which actually could be a big X factor if we are looking at a stall mirror match here. And that's why, right there, knockoff could be a huge X factor. If we're going for the grind here, if we're looking at 100 turn or whatever it's going to be, championship game, then obviously I have leftovers and you don't, is going to end up being a big factor, especially when we do have sand in this game. Though of note, like I said, 3 of the 4 pokes revealed so far for George, and obviously Milotic has refreshed, wasn't worried about the Toxic there. But 3 of the 4 pokes revealed for George are sand immune, and like I said, I anticipate Flygon to be there as well. So he seems to have come prepared for the T-Tar. He saved all this sand immune stuff for Game 3 because Zok's strategy throughout the tournament has been to save his big guns for Game 3, especially if he wins Game 1. He usually throws together a like janky UU-ish Game 1 team, and if he manages to win Game 1, he's in such a commanding position because it puts the opponent in a weird spot where they have to win Game 2 and can't just bring junk just in case, and it gives Zok the luxury of having the vast majority of his best stuff in the back. T-Tar, Starmie, Celebi, Milotic, those were all first-round picks. Those are all among his best Pokemon, and he has got a full-on stall team here. This is a very defensive squad, the bread and butter for Zokuru, the stall lord. So he's got to be super comfy with where he is. And Toxic there on Flygon, not what he wanted to see. Screech is a way to break through, but at what cost? Does he have any kind of answer for that Toxic? The Flygon has shown Hidden Power Screech. It's obviously going to have Earthquake. I doubt the last move is Rest, but I guess it could be. We still haven't seen the last poke for George, but as of now, he does not have access to Heal Bell. Refresh happening yet again. This is full stall for Zok. He has no spikes either. This is full-on just Toxic and dudes with Recover and Bulk stall. Not clear what the T-Tar is. It could be Dragon Dance, but on this team, I could see it being Pursuit as well. There's Arrow, so full team revealed for George, and 5 of them are sand immune, so Zok is going to have to earn it the old-fashioned way. Hidden Power there, probably flying. Sableye is almost certainly going to have to get out of the way, and indeed, George knew that T-Tar was coming. That is the only flying resist that he's got, and therefore he went to Regirock. It is a Pursuit Tower, though, so that is going to make this very, very different. The Aerodactyl, should it get pursued again or crunched, will just die. So that is going to be a solution potentially to Aerodactyl that otherwise looks pretty damn threatening in this matchup. So he's going to be relying solely on that Pursuit Tar to take care of Arrow. And you know what? It might work. The Tar is fully healthy and the Arrow is at only 22% or whatever it is. That might be good enough given the circumstances. Now, Toxic there is good on Sableye for sure. I don't know that it has a way. Yeah, it's usually Recover rather than Rest, understandably. Celebi could have Heal Bell, though. Earthquake there, decent chunk. And Nightshade, so last move, unsurprisingly, is not Rest. Sableye may be going to die here. He's not ready to give it up. He goes to Milo. And yeah, George a little greedy staying in. Takes some unnecessary Toxic damage on Flygon there. Registeel in, and there is Recover from the invincible Milo. It really is almost invincible in this matchup. The only way that it's going to go down, I think, is a sequence of terrible luck against the Arrow, Krintz, Flitches, whatever. Or he leaves it in against Zapdos, which he's never going to do. Or one of the Reggies booms on it, which again, I really doubt he's going to let that happen. So I think, while it isn't literally invincible, while there's obviously outs, I think that George is going to have a really hard time actually ever killing the Milotic in this matchup. Critical hit Surf there. S-Toss, not exciting back. There you go. There's Boom. So good thing that Zok did get the recover off there, but he's going to survive the Boom, crucially. He's at 14%. Out of the way he goes, and Hidden Power there is the right prediction on Claydol. Good for George there. Claydol now in a weird position. It may or may not live another Hidden Power, and he does go for it. So Hidden Power again, Bug or Ghost, 57% there on Starmie, huge chunk. But he's going to stay in and not allow the Starmie a free recover. I think this is going to get his arrow killed, though. Yeah, I don't think I like this for George because, yeah, you kill something, but, like, he just fodders off the already basically dead Sableye, and now you're dead to Pursuit. Rock Slide misses there, but it wouldn't have mattered unless he flinched. Even a crit wouldn't have been enough. And then Crunch takes out Arrow, and now all of a sudden, I think George is in some trouble. Swampert comes in. It is EQ. Swampert is not exciting in this matchup at all. Celebi, Milo hard counter the crap out of you. You can't break through Starmie. Swampert is really useless here. He doesn't even need a million HP grasses. He can just counter it by virtue of his Pokemon have nothing to worry about. I don't know, man. And there's a Boom to take out Claydol. Not clear if that was the intended target or not, but I think George is really in some trouble here. I think Zok is moments away. Ice Beam doesn't kill. Thunderbolt obviously will, but Zapdos about to drop dead as well between the poison and the sand. Swampert only against Celebi and Milotic? I don't think so. I guess step one is survive this Giga Drain and immediately freeze Celebi with Ice Beam. And then freeze Milotic too and go from there. Alright, he crits him, but he doesn't freeze him, and he would have needed that, and now he should be dead in the water to the next Giga Drain unless he gets a miraculous string of Protects here and uses up all the Giga Drain PP. Well, 50-50 Protect is successful. Do I hear a 25-75? Stranger things have happened. He goes for it. Odds not in his favor, but it goes down by half every time. So imagine if he had gotten the 25% Protect there. He would go to just 12.5% on the next one, and then he would need to do it again. Stranger things have happened, but obviously the odds very, very low. And the inevitability here, it goes the way that it was always going to go, given what was left. Zokuru, the 2-1 winner, and he is our first ever CALLOUS Draft Duel champion, and he will take 50% of our prize pool back to France to eat some snails. Congrats to both guys. They are both going to walk away with cash. Like I said, George was second place. Head up high, dude. He gets 30% of the prize pool. Not a bad payday, a decent payday for playing some online mons and hopefully having fun doing it. And then, of course, you guys saw the result of our third place match as well. And that's our tournament. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As a whole, this is it's a new format, and there's definitely stigma and what the hell did I just hit? Sorry. Stigma and unfamiliarity around draft. And I think I was taking a risk with this format that there just wouldn't be a lot of interest, both as far as people actually wanting to play it and spectators being interested in watching it. It's not OU, and this was never going to be, CI8. It just won't have the same level of interest, and that just is what it is. But I wanted to try it. I thought that this format was cool, and I thought that it was skill intensive, and I thought in its own way, different from, CI or traditional OU, that it had its own appeal to watch. I actually really liked excuse me. I actually really like narrating the drafts, and I hope that in like a podcasty way almost, because you don't really need to look, you just kind of need to listen. I hope that those were decent to listen to as well. So yeah, let me know in the comments, guys. I'm not going to ever waste my time with this or with anything if people don't want to see it. I've always just made videos because I want to put something out that people enjoy. But if you're not enjoying it, then we all have better things to do with our lives. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about this tournament and this format as a whole. I do have a very special announcement that I've not made yet, coming very, very soon in regards to this format and the future and something that I've got cooking behind the scenes. So please get into my Discord server, link in the description if you've not already done so, and be on the lookout for that announcement. But I would really, really like feedback about this tournament, about this format, about everything that we've done over the past, whatever it's been, month and a half, and what you guys want to see going forward. But if there's enough support for this format, and I have received many messages expressing support and that you guys like it, and that feels really good and I really appreciate it. If that is a true and accurate representation of where we stand, if you guys actually do like this and actually do want to see more, I think I can accommodate you. I've got a pretty cool idea floating. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys today. Look forward to that. Thank you to everyone who supported this tournament by not only just watching it and hitting the like button, but obviously by donating. Appreciate you very deeply. And if I keep making stuff, it's got to be because of people like you. So thank you very much. Alright guys, I won't keep you waiting too long. The Callous YouTube channel, not dead. I will see you guys in the next video.